Today we're going to talk about whether it's better to join the Army older versus younger. But without further ado, let's get to it. What is up, guys? Ben Allen back again with another video, and for a little background on me, for those of you that are new here, I did 4 years active duty as a 68 whiskey, then I got out, did the reserves for about a year and a half. So if you have any questions about either or, feel free to hit me up on my Instagram at @TheBenAllen or my Discord. It has over 400 people in there that can help answer y'all's questions should you have any. Both of those links are down below in the description box, so be sure to check them out. Like I said before, we're going to be talking about whether it's better to join the Army older versus younger, right? I get this question a lot of 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds fresh out of high school asking me like, hey, should I join the Army right now? Is it hard? What can I expect? I also have people asking me like, hey, is 25, 26 too old to join the Army? So I'm gonna hit on like pros and cons for going in younger as well as going in older, and then you guys can decide for yourselves which one sounds a little more appealing. Me personally, I already know my answer. I'll give that to you guys at the end of the video once we go over the list, but we'll start off with just a little bit of facts regarding, you know, what the Army prefers, right? So they did a study in 2022 that said that recruits 21 and older performed slightly better than the younger recruits that were like 17, 18, you know, and fresh out of high school basically. And they said in the age range, I think it was 15% of recruits that were in the 25 to 35 age range were more likely to make it through basic training, right? Like they weren't like being washed out as much as the younger recruits, which, you know, kind of makes a little bit of sense. They have a little bit of experience, maybe they're able to adapt a little better, and 6% of those recruits in that age range were also more likely to re-up, meaning re-enlist after their initial contract, right? Because let's face it, if you're joining at an older age, chances are maybe things didn't work out for you on the civilian side, so the Army is, you know, what you plan on doing for the foreseeable future. So maybe that is why there was a 6% increase of them re-upping as opposed to the younger generation. And they noted that they saw more motivation, more drive, more passion, and just a little bit more common sense in terms of them, the way they approached training, the way they approached you know, adversity in basics. So that was pretty cool to read. That was just like a little fun fact while I was researching the topic of this video that I came across, so now you guys know. But let's jump straight into the video, 2 minutes in, right? But we'll start off with the younger aspect and go over the pros and cons for that and joining younger, whether you're 17, 18, you know, 19, 20. I'll consider, you know, those are still like on the younger side of things, right? But let's start with the pros. So right off the bat, younger individuals tend to be more fit, right? I'm not saying that older people aren't fit or anything like that, but you have that youth on your side, meaning your joints aren't hurting yet. You don't have the body aches yet as you get older. Because trust me, I joined younger. I joined fresh out of high school. I was 18 years old. I turned 19 the day I got to basic training, and my body did not hurt then like it does now. You know, my knees, the Army took those away from me, man. Not literally, but like the joints, the cartilage, everything, like it's just not as strong and as elasticy as it used to be when I was younger. So you have that youthfulness on your side, and your joints don't hurt as much. So that's a plus, because basic training is pretty rigorous in terms of physical activity that you're going to be doing, the movements, the repetitiveness of it all. There's a lot of push-ups, so your elbows are going to be hurting, squatting, air squats, maybe they'll hold you some, maybe make you hold some wall sits, things like that. So those are just some of the pros, right? You still have that youthful body energy basically, as well as being more fit in general, right? You're fresh out of high school, chances are you did some form of like PE, maybe you were in football class, as opposed to somebody that's been out a while. They get stuck in a 9 to 5, they don't have the time to like be doing a whole lot of physical activities. But on the other end, you know, a lot of teenagers these days, people joining the military like 17, 18, it's the video game era, right? So maybe some of them aren't like getting out as much and as fit, but generally The younger people tend to be more fit and have the youthfulness on their side. Another pro I would say hitting on the youthfulness is that your body's going to be able to adapt a little better, right? I remember when I was younger, I could stay up for hours, get minimal sleep, and still be a functioning human being the next day, right? But as you get older, you need a little more sleep. At least for me, I know that's a fact. But I remember being younger, staying up till like 1, 2 in the morning, sleeping for 2 hours, having to wake up at 4. When I was in the Army and I was younger, I'd go partying until like 3 in the morning, get back, sleep for an hour, have formation at 5, and I felt good. I was still probably a little hungover, but my body was resilient and it adapted to that, and I was able to just walk it off, no problem. But now that I'm older, I drink one day and I feel like the stand of the world the next day. Not really. I can still handle my liquor pretty well, but you know what I mean. You older guys, you know what I mean. You younger guys, you'll find out when you get older, right? Another pro is early retirement, right? What I mean by this is if you do life right, then yeah, you're gonna retire eventually. But if you join earlier in life, you're gonna retire earlier in life, right? Because you just got to do 20 years. So if you join at 18, you do the 20, bam, 38, you're retired. You get your full benefits. Like that's pretty good. Whereas if you join at 25, 26, or 30, you gotta wait 20 years on top of that, and it's just later on in life, and you're not as young. And that to me, that's a pro of joining younger, is that you get to get out earlier if you decide to do the full 20, you know what I mean? Some of the final pros that I'm just gonna lump together is you get a head start in life, the living conditions, and school, right? The benefits. So let's start with the head start in life. Like me, I knew joining the Army, I was just using it as a stepping stone to just progress my life in general, right? Maybe get some like cool certificates out of the Army, get the educational benefits and things like that. The living was great because I didn't have to pay for any of it, which is what you're going to be doing. If you're living in the barracks, you don't have to pay to live in the barracks, which is great, as opposed to paying for housing and college and stuff on your own, going to college on your own. Like if you know that you're going to use the Army as a stepping stone, that's another pro of joining younger, because chances are if you joined older, you might have already done college, you might have the student loans already, the college debt, and you don't want that. If you joined fresh out of high school, you didn't have time to rack up all that stuff, so now you're just able to use your GI Bill, your tuition assistance. So I think to me, those are just some of the pros of joining younger in the military, right? Let me know if there's other pros. I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones that I missed, but these are just some of the main ones that I could think about at this point in time. But let's go ahead and move on to the cons of joining younger. And when I was making this list, there really wasn't a whole lot of cons. I'm sure there is, but let's hit on the ones I wrote down, and then you guys can let me know in the comment section what you guys think and if there's any other cons to joining younger as opposed to older. The first con that I could think of joining younger is you don't have as much life experience, meaning you're fresh out of school. That's the only thing you've done for 18 years, 17 years, 19 years even maybe, and you go to basic and it's just overwhelming. You're not used to people yelling at you. You're not used to being told what to do. You're not used to waking up early. Your body will get used to it, like I said in one of the pros, your adaptability, but you're not used to it. You're not used to like the real world type stuff, right? If you fuck up in basic, you're gonna get fucked up. Like you're gonna be doing push-ups, you're gonna get smoked. You could even get kicked out of the Army, right? And I think being a little older and coming into the military, you have the mental fortitude to kind of endure those things because you've already dealt with those things in the real life, whether it's at a 9-to-5 or just a regular job or just anything in general that you've just gotten experience from, whether it's school, job, whatever. And if you're joining fresh out of high school, chances are you haven't gotten a whole lot of life experience to be able to deal with the situations you're gonna be put in the Army. Another con is kind of just how impressionable you are at a younger age. A lot of people in the military don't have your best interest at heart. It's a shocker, right? But it's true. You see it all the time, like Fort Hood, like all the shit that goes down, toxic leadership. A lot of people try to take advantage of younger soldiers, whether it's like they use fear or intimidation to get them to do what they want, and you could be put in a bad spot. And whereas if you were older, you know when somebody's trying to like fuck with you or like use their power to make you do something, and you're not really playing that game. You're like, okay, cool, fuck you. No, I'm not gonna do that. Whereas if you're younger, you're like, oh my god, when drill sergeant sergeant's mad at me. He told me I have to do this. Like, I'm so scared. Like, you know what I mean? So there's just that. One of the bigger cons I see joining younger is that you don't know how to be away from home. A lot of people that were 17 to like 18, 19, fresh out of high school, got homesick. They missed their family, and that took a toll on them. Because if you're really close to them, I've seen people like quit basic training because they missed their families or home life so much that they just could not train or would not train so they could get out sooner and just go back home to their regular lives in the comfort, you know, of their home. And if you've already lived life a little bit, chances are you won't have to deal with that. So just, you know, think about that when joining. Your family's still gonna be there when basic training is over. It's 10 weeks. Basic training is 10 weeks, and then whatever your AIT length is, and then you're gonna go see them. You'll get a couple of days of leave. So don't be homesick. You're gonna be okay. And the last con that I could think of is just dealing with authority and just, you know, these drill sergeants yelling at you. Like, you might break down. I've seen some people break down, like, that were fresh out of high school. They got scared. They're like, oh my God, like, I've never had anybody yell at me like that. Or you're just a kid with a bad attitude, man. Like, you just have a chip on your shoulder. You're like, oh, if a drill sergeant gets in my face, I'm gonna punch him. Nobody cares, bro. You can try. I promise you it's not gonna happen. And if it does, they're gonna beat your ass and claim self-defense. But that's just some of the cons. Like, you don't know how to deal with like the real world, kind of. And that's not everybody. I know there's some people out there that are really mature for their age and that have done really good in basic training. That's not for everybody. It is just a certain number and some of the cons that I could think of for younger. But with younger out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into some of the pros and cons of joining the Army older. So if you can put two and two together, right, one of the first pros is just the opposite of some of the cons and pros from being younger, right? And one of the pros of joining older is more life experience, right? Whether you're joining at 25, 26, 27, whatever, chances are you've had a job, you've had people in charge of you, you've dealt with real world experiences, and it makes it a little easier, right? You're a little more mature at basic training. You know how to handle the problems and solve them, and you know how to deal with individuals in a tactful way, basically, and not like freak out at the slightest inconvenience, you know what I mean? So that's just one of the things that comes with more life experience. Some more pros are you're more confident and more educated, right? Maybe that's not always the case for some people. I've met some really dumb old people in basic training, but chances are you might have already gone to college, or you know, you didn't finish, or you did some school and you got that baseline education, so you know how to problem solve, which they really love in basic training. If you can problem solve and use common sense in the Army, you're a very rare individual, because not everybody uses common sense. I'll make a video on that eventually one day, right? And more confident, right? The older you are, chances are you've been through things, like I said, more experience, so you know how to carry yourself a little better than somebody fresh out of high school. You know how to speak to other adults, right? Your drill sergeants are probably going to be adults for the most part. And you just have that aura around you. I remember the older guys in our basic training, like a lot of people called them like uncle or dad or whatever, because they looked out for the younger dudes, and they like just gave them advice and taught them how to deal with things and handle things, so you're able to impart that on the younger generation. So that's really good to have, right? Just that confidence, because it'll attract people to you and make you a valuable person in basic training, because people will seek you out for advice or whatever it may be. I guess one of the last things, right, is just you're more motivated. From what I found is that people that join at an older age, maybe something didn't work out for them when they were younger, or all of a sudden they got like a huge spur of patriotism, right? Usually it's because something didn't work out, or they've always wanted to do it, but things didn't really align. Maybe they had a wife or something and they didn't want to leave them, but then they got divorced, so now they have nothing holding them back, right? And they're just motivated to be there. And the more motivated you are in basic training and the Army in general, the easier it's going to be, because you're going to deal with shitty things in the military almost all the time. Every day there's going to be something stupid going on. And the more motivated you are, the easier it's going to be to get through that. And the drill sergeants like the motivation too, because it keeps the spirits high and it keeps the other soldiers engaged, because motivation can be infectious. You know, it's like a smile. You see somebody smiling, chances are you're going to want to smile too. And so those are just some of the pros of joining older. That I think personally, right? I didn't join older, I joined younger, but from what I saw, those people that joined older had all those qualities, and it seemed a little easier for them, and they weren't stressing as much. All right, so now that we got the pros out of the way for joining older, let's jump straight into the cons, right? And this first one is the older you are, the more you tend to be like set in your ways. I don't know if you've ever had to try to have a conversation with like your parents about something and they just like automatically disagree. They're like, oh, back in my day, you know, we had some older dudes join. They were like 35 or whatever, and they'd be like, oh yeah, it's just this is how I like to do it, you know, blah blah blah. And you know, 25 really isn't that old, so I doubt some of them will be like that. But that's just one of the things, is that they're used to doing things a certain way because they've been in a routine for however many years outside of high school, and so they might give a little more pushback and question a little more, but that's just one of the cons of joining older, right? Kind of set in your ways. The next one, when you get older, or as you get older, your body doesn't work as well as it used to when you were younger. I've seen some really fit older people, right? Like there was some 35-year-olds crushing the 17, 18-year-olds in PT, but as you get older, your joints start to hurt. You know, running doesn't feel as easy as it used to. And I can tell you right now, for sure, like my knees definitely hurt more now than they did when I was 17, 18, right? So you're going to be taking a lot of ibuprofen, Tylenol before like battalion runs and shit like that. Just letting you guys know that right now. Ooh, another one that I saw was people that join older really don't like to be told what to do from people that are younger than them, right? They again, you know, they have a problem with authority, kind of like the younger dudes do, you know, joining. And what I mean by that is that if you join older, like 25, 30, whatever, you're gonna probably run into somebody that joined at 17, 18 and has been in for about 4 or 5 years now, and they're maybe like 22, 23, 24, and you're 30 and they're in charge of you. There's like a 20, I've seen 22-year-olds, 20-year-olds even in charge of 30-year-olds, 35-year-olds, and I've seen like the, you know, them butting heads because the older guy thinks he knows more, he's been there, done that, and the younger guy, you know, is in a position of authority, right? Because he's done his time, he's been in longer in the military, right? He's maybe not be as old as that guy, but he's been in the military longer and he has the rank. And so I've seen some older guys not do well with taking orders from younger guys. So like I said about joining younger, you retire younger. Joining older, you retire older. And that's a con to me. I don't want to have to do 20 years and be 50, 55, 60, whatever it may be when I get out of the Army. I want to be like 38. You know, that's cool. That's a good number to me. If I would have done the 20, I didn't. Another thing I'd put on the cons list for joining older is you're a little more prone to injuries, right? Like I was hitting on earlier, the older you are, the more your body aches, and your bones and, you know, tissues aren't as strong as they were when you were like younger, fresh in high school, right? Everything starts deteriorating as you get older. It's not always the case for everybody, but that is just one of the things that I do see, you know, going on for the older people. And last and final con for just being older and joining older is that it's a young man's game. Like honestly, the military is focused at recruiting younger people, which is crazy. They should be focused on recruiting everybody equally, but they want longevity. They want people that are, you know, fit, ready to go, you know, easily moldable to, you know, what they want you to do and how they want you to act as a soldier. And that's just it. It's just a young man's game, plain and simple. But that's not to say that joining older is bad or anything. And those are my pros and cons for both guys, joining older versus younger. My final thoughts on it, I take younger all day, every day, right? I think joining younger is the move just because, you know, it's a stepping stone for me anyway. But that's not the case for everybody, right? Some people want to wait till later in life. They want to be more established. They want to have a family. They want to do this, that, and the other. And there's really no right or wrong as to you. It just comes down to the individual. So whatever you are thinking is best for your life, do that. If joining younger is going to be good for you, if you're a 17, 18-year-old watching this video and you're thinking about joining younger, do it. If you want to wait till you're older, do it. If you're older watching this video, 25, 26, and you're thinking about joining but you haven't really decided, do it. Chances are if you wait longer, you might age out. And you don't want to do that. I've had people do that and they regret it. So it just comes down to you as an individual and what you prefer and what's going to fit your lifestyle. But me, if I had to do it all over again and choose to join at 25 versus fresh out of high school at 18, I'm gonna join again at 18 just because I feel like it set me up so far. And I learned. I got a lot of great character development. I grew as a person, as an individual, as a soldier, and I just made a lot of good memories and experiences. But I really hope you guys like this video. I hope you guys took something away. Let me know what some of the other pros and cons you guys think are of joining older and younger are in the comment section. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at TheBenAllen and join my Discord. There's over 400 people in there that can help answer y'all's questions should you have any. Thank y'all for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Later.